Welcome to the Anton Stetner podcast. And today's question is it time to leave Seattle? Because it's not looking good down there.
It is not, brother man. Imagine waking up in Seattle and your coffee is now going to cost more than your sanity. The new socialist mayor is going to tax your dreams away. This isn't an opinion. This is a math problem. The equilibrium has officially been shattered. It's pushed all the way to one side. Electing Katie Wilson by less than 1% via the mail-in voter ballots is tipping the points, the scale towards the negative doom loop of dropping revenues from businesses and people exiting Seattle. But there's a twist. If everyone's exiting, what's going to be the real estate arbitrage? What's going to be the play that we should tell everyone to look at? Because I think this is a big one. It's probably a big one, like one of the biggest in a decade. And so we're going to talk about like where the money is going and where some of the undervalued cities are. And in this episode specifically, we're going to go over like the top 20 reasons people are leaving Seattle, where they're moving to, and then the real estate arbitrage play that will exist essentially because of that. I'm Anton Stetner. I've been selling real estate here since the early 2000s. We've sold thousands of homes here in the Seattle metro. We own brokerages. We do new construction land development. We have a real estate sales team. And we're here to help you anywhere in the Seattle metro with your real estate needs. And if you guys like talking about these economic issues, these society issues, hit that subscribe button and follow us along on the journey.
Yeah, no, I love Seattle, and it's been somewhere I want to move to eventually one day, like have an apartment or condo right there by Pike Place, the new waterfront, love the downtown area. But I think that people that live there or visit there know that it's not the same environment. It smells. There's just all kinds of different people. And there's a lot of businesses that have closed up shop. So it's not making for the vibrant downtown. So naturally, I imagine people are leaving. But what are the 20 reasons that people are leaving and, where are they going?
Yeah, this is where your AI models can absolutely come in and save you. You can literally run a deep research. So I ran deep research across 3 models and said, hey, give me the top reasons. And this is the combination of those based on news articles, data sources, U-Haul, pods, things of that nature. Number 1, housing costs. So the median price last month in Seattle was $899,000, almost $900,000, making it unaffordable to many middle-class families. And so one of the things you're going to hear in this whole list, affordability. And we know that on a national level, everyone is feeling pinched right now. And because of all the inflation that we've experienced from the money printing, that everything is just unaffordable. Number 2, soaring rents. The average rent in Seattle has absolutely exploded over the last 5 years, leading to rent caps. But what do rent caps do over the long run? What do you believe happens when we cap the economic value of something?
Well, it might not incentivize the building of more housing, because if you can't make a profit for how much it costs to build those houses, I'm not even an expert when it comes to that stuff. That's just like the obvious take for me.
It de-incentivizes the building and new construction. It de-incentivizes maintaining buildings. That's actually the biggest one. What happens is because the landlord knows their rent is capped, they don't maintain the buildings as well as they used to. Third, it drives the ma and pa landlord out. Well, the ma and pa landlord, the person who owns 1 property, 2, 3 properties, is the ones who generally keep their rent low over longer periods of time. And what it does is it forces in more corporate landlords. Well, what do corporate landlords do? They always raise their rents. So it becomes this weird self-fulfilling prophecy of Rent caps actually exacerbating the issue. Number 3, because we said the whole beginning is all about affordability. Elevated costs of living. We're talking groceries, utilities, insurance, childcare, transportation. And because of where we live here in the Seattle Metro, these are some of the absolute highest nationally. What do you think childcare costs per month in Seattle? Like, just guess, because I know you have 5 kids.
I'm gonna say at least $2,000, $2,200.
$3,000 per child was the average number I could see in the data. No wonder, like, we're driving out the middle class. Like, if you want to have a family and you have 2 kids, that's $6,000 a month for childcare. Like, that's just unaffordable. Persistent homelessness. Okay. Visible encampments, other related issues, the urban decay of properties. Number 5, drug use and open markets. I'm sorry. Drugs should still be illegal. We need to do something about this because we can't have open drug use. We can't have homeless people using drugs on the street. It makes people feel unsafe. And when people don't feel safe and like the community is stable right there, they want to leave.
I know that in some of the parks where kids would be playing, that's where a lot of the drug use happens. So think about parents that are willing to pay that, or, maybe they stay home and take care of the kids. They want to go outside and let the kids run around. Well, I'm not likely to go to a place like that where there's open drug use.
Yeah.
Even if the drug use wasn't happening during the day, what if there's a needle out? And
Yeah.
the kid steps on it or something like that. It's scary for families right now down there.
And the consumption and fentanyl and other hard drugs like that, I think despite law enforcement even growing right now, they've been hiring more people. That's a major concern, and still major abuse is happening. And, when you see one of them bent over like a tree or, a piece of grass doing the fentanyl zombie lean, that doesn't make people feel comfortable and safe. Crime rates. So overall, some of the crime rates have dropped here in Seattle. But unfortunately, we still rank very high, and that's something that fuels the safety concerns of being in the kind of that downtown. And everyone has stories about, walking around and maybe not feeling safe for one reason or another in the downtown.
I told you I was down there with my family, and a homeless guy tried to kick one of my kids. Wow. Crazy. That I just never even experienced anything like that, even as an adult. Well, I guess maybe they thought, oh, it's a little kid, let me just kick him or whatever. Crazy. Never happened before.
And one of the other big ones for crime is the retail theft. The retail theft has gotten so out of control because we're essentially not prosecuting retail theft. So basically, it's almost like catch and release, Oh, you were bad. So you have professional retail theft individuals and rings that are driving up these crime rates and then driving these businesses out. Then you have this mayor, Katie Wilson, who goes, oh, we're not going to allow grocery stores to close. We're going to force them to stay open, when these are the issues we're talking about, that why they're closing, why the businesses are leaving. Number 7, I just led right into it. Business closures. Retail thefts, regulations have led to shutdowns and reducing local amenities and creating these food deserts. We'd also previously talked about office space. Seattle right now in the A-class office space has a 35% vacancy rate downtown. Understand, that makes that building not financeable unless it has no debt on it or very low loan to value.
I've gone to hotels for when I stay downtown for like a staycation, or I'm taking Judy out. Yeah. And I've seen buildings that had vacant floors that were like that for years.
Yeah.
Years. How can they even survive that financially? Like it would stress out the owners and definitely stress their bank account.
And most commercial debt has in covenants that says they have to maintain a certain level of cash flow, and they're called debt service coverage ratios, and they have to maintain a certain LTV. So what I believe is happening is, after the Federal Reserve raised rates in 2022, a lot of this commercial debt is still in that extend and pretend phase. The problem is if commercial debt doesn't get fundamentally cheaper, and right now it's like a coin toss if the Fed is going to cut interest rates. Sooner or later, these banks can't keep extending and pretending, and then this commercial debt piper is going to have to get paid, which is going to, of course, drive down values and drive out more businesses. We got a comment on one of the other videos where the gentleman was saying that he worked for a family business who had been in the same area for 70 years, and they just sold the building and they just closed the business and moved out of downtown Seattle for the reasons we are citing here. If a business has been there that long, I think we need to look ourselves in the face and say, what policy mistakes are we making that we're driving people, the middle class, and businesses out of the downtown Seattle metro? Number 8, the unfriendly business climate, higher taxes, regulation, and this is impacting job growth. So when I went and did a bunch of the research, they described it as regulation hostility. And Seattle using high minimum wage, because Seattle has a higher minimum wage than even our state minimum wage, B&O taxes, with 65% of employers citing taxes as their top concern. Then the city itself, number 9, has ongoing budget deficits and shortfalls, which means sooner or later they're going to have to cut services. Seattle itself is expected to have a $250 million shortfall in the 25 to 2026 year, because what they've been doing is they've been depleting the Jumpstart program, another program that is funded by taxes. They've been robbing that one, and that one will be down to $180,000 by 2026 because they've had to rob from that program, which is supposed to be another one, to just keep their budget going. Well, sooner or later, this doom loop of less people, less revenue, less foot traffic, then leads to a massive shortfall in services. So the government literally stops functioning. Traffic and commutes, number 10. We know we love our traffic. There are times you're going to be sitting on the freeway right there, and you know it's a 10, 15-minute drive, and it's going to take you 30, 40 minutes to get there.
Now, I'm really lucky because I don't work in downtown. I can work from home. I have this studio. But when I have to go to Seattle, I plan my day around it, which is not really that efficient if you think about it.
Yeah.
If I'm not out of Seattle by 2 p.m., I'm getting stuck in traffic, and it's going to double my commute easily.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. And I almost never hit that 5 o'clock traffic. So if 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock is doubling my traffic time, I don't even want to imagine what 5 o'clock is. And it's crazy. Now, that's something that naturally happens with more population, more people moving to the area, and the roads don't really expand. But yeah, it doesn't make it any better to live, like in the Seattle area. Yeah.
And we still need to go record this episode, but they keep saying Sound Transit's going to solve that problem. And all Sound Transit has ever done is be 2 to 3x over budget and raise everyone's property taxes. What's very interesting too, when you look at even things like Sound Transit, which is the rail system here in the Seattle Metro, we don't even need it anymore. Why? Elon's already building the robo-taxis. It's going to be so much more efficient to get in an unmanned vehicle and just ride from destination to destination, because you're going to get there faster, quicker, cheaper than the government provided service. That we're going to look at that and go, that was a gigantic waste of money. Mark your calendar, 2030, we'll come back. We'll check the show notes. That one's going to come back. Number 11, the declining job market. Unfortunately, tech is slowing down. And we've talked about it in the office vacancies, but we see Amazon with a big layoff. We see Microsoft with a layoff. So there are our tech giants slowing down. The white collar worker here in Seattle is in a little bit of trouble. And we don't know. And time will tell. Is this right sizing? Is this because of the economy? Is it because of AI? What are your thoughts? Drop it in the comments below. High taxes, both the state and local taxes, including the potential increases that are now being talked about. Seattle has a capital gains tax of 9.9% on gains over $1 million retroactive to January 2025. This is capturing business owners, entrepreneurs, startup founders, and retirees, which is creating that Jeff Bezos effect of high net worth individuals relocating to more tax-friendly states. Number 13, the quality of school concerns. So families have cited the underperforming of the education system there in Seattle, and they're moving out for better education or going to private school. You've seen an explosion in private school and homeschool over the last 5 years. And the student population in some areas is getting so small, they're having to close schools down. There's not enough students to go to them.
Yeah, the problem with that, though, is you have to pay for it. So that makes living expenses even higher.
Yes.
And then if you do homeschooling, well, somebody has to stay home. So then both parents can't work, right, to do it. Now, I think homeschooling is great for when people are, maximizing or whatever. But both of those would make you want to leave, right, to cheaper areas.
Both of those are going to make you move to one of the areas that we're going to talk about. Well, we do have the good old weather. I mean, let's just be honest. It's the Evergreen State. It rains a lot. We have seasonal depression. And right now we're in that season. You woke up this morning, super gray outside, 42 degrees. I went and played soccer with my kids and a couple friends yesterday evening. And we showed up at the soccer field and it was like 3:45. And I said to everyone, hey, we have 45 minutes of daylight. We're going to play until we can't see the ball. We played until like 4:38 and you literally couldn't see the ball. And it was one of those neon orange balls. But it's true. It's just, during the winter months, it gets a little rough here. This one should be obvious, but we have massive political polarization with more recent shifts, of course, like the new mayor and other policies and the climate policies. It just adds to it.
You know what sucks about that is it's not just like a red and blue thing. So, it's obvious that Seattle is much more liberal, more democratic. So you would think this issue would be isolated to people that are Republicans or conservative. No, even on the left side, it's polarized, right?
Well, what's happened there, Benji, is there's varying degrees of left.
Yeah.
And you're chasing out the moderates, the centrist.
That want just like what other people want,
Bingo.
No matter what side, and they're not getting that, or they think so. Yeah, what happened with this last mayor, which I guess my incentive is like I like to go to downtown Seattle. I love that city, even though I don't live in it. But still, it's not like my city to vote on. But I know there's people that wanted to vote the other candidate because they just wanted some like realistic policies.
They want to be a little more moderate.
Yeah, just to like create some like an environment that would be more conducive to raising a family in Seattle. And they now don't think that's going to happen with this other candidate. And those are Democrats. That's all blue.
It's all blue. Yeah.
And that's what's crazy. We're not saying like, all the conservatives, MAGA people are getting out of town if there's any left in Seattle. No, it's just like a lot more people than you think across the aisle.
At 100%. Healthcare wait times. That's been a big one. People say they can't get access to healthcare and services. Graffiti and urban blight. You've just got this aesthetic decline from the vandalism, from the graffiti. It's interesting. So growing up as a kid in the 90s, we used to run to Seattle to go party and hang out and have fun. And, I enjoyed a lot of graffiti in the 90s. And then we went through this period of time that started like in the early 2000s where Seattle was kind of clean and there was no graffiti anywhere. And I don't know what we did, but we did a great job. And then all of a sudden, it's now back, not like back in a little bit. We're talking with a mammoth vengeance.
Would you say it's even more now?
It's even more because I used to seek it out. I was interested in it from an art form. And so I had a couple friends. We would go, drive around, look at those things, take pictures, talk about it, just something, that we did, it's a dumb teenager thing. And now I look at it and I go, there is literally 4 times that amount. So much so that, and I mentioned this on another episode, and thank you subscribers who hang out with us, is that as we were driving into town to go to Dim Tai Fung down there at South Center to go meet my niece, when my children start making comments about how the city looks dirty and there's too much graffiti everywhere, you go, oh my goodness, this is becoming an issue. My child goes, Dad, did you ever do that? I can neither confirm nor deny that. We have a family unfriendly environment. That's one of the things we were talking about. With this changing population, change in demographics, change in the overall feel, you don't have as many child-focused amenities, and then that safety factor.
Well, even if you do put that playground, are you likely to let your kid play there knowing that there's drug usage?
Well, that's the safety factor.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's pure insanity. Insurance and utility costs. We've talked about that, but those are rising. And so now you've got these out migration trends, number 20, where you've got a cycle of departure, which is reducing that old community feel, reducing the people who have always been a part of the neighborhood, where you have that neighbor who's lived there forever, who just cares about everyone and kind of knows what's happening. To kind of summarize these economic factors, because I wanted to bring some together, with a median home price of around $900,000, that's over 2x the national average. You've got a one-bedroom rent, $2,500 in downtown Seattle, 50% above the national average. You've got an unemployment rate at 4.5%, 4.6, which is slightly above average. But our U6, our underemployment, is way above average. We did another episode about how Seattle and actually Washington State itself is further to the recession than other parts of the nation right now. So you can go check that out as one of our other episodes. Office vacancy at 35% is the highest in decades, and you've got the largest budget deficit ever. Why are people leaving? It's the economic pressures. It's the public safety. It's the political instability. But every crisis creates opportunity, and that's what our subscribers, our listeners know. We're here to help you at resg.com because there's some opportunity sitting right here for you too.
Yeah, obviously you talked about people leaving Washington State, but not everybody is going to leave, the state. Where are people going within Washington? Because naturally, if it's too expensive in Seattle, there might be other counties, other communities. What are you finding? And where are those opportunities? And then also, can you tell me what are some of the prices of homes compared to that $900,000 in Seattle?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the areas that they're fleeing right towards is Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, with Bellevue being that hot spot. You've got immediate proximity to Seattle. It's just right over the I-90 or the 405 bridge there. These are tech hubs. They're more family friendly. They're cleaner, but this is not for affordability. These areas are even more expensive than downtown Seattle. So your average price in these areas, Benji, is going to start at like 1.25, and it's going to go to, $50 million. With that kind of next price bracket being at about 2.5. So people are not moving to the east side for affordability. They're moving there for a safer, friendlier, pro-business climate, but they're going to pay more to live there. This is more expensive. The more affordable alternative where they're going to move to is Snohomish County. That is the county just directly north of King County where Seattle is located. In a lot of Snohomish County, you're going to be 30 minutes from Seattle or 30 minutes from the east side. In the far reaches, you would be 45 to 50 minutes. The alternative is because it's more affordable. It's more community oriented. It's
definitely more moderate.
It's definitely more moderate from a political standpoint.
Not MAGA.
No, because
not that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, it's not like podunk farm town or anything like that. Nothing wrong with that. I grew up in a rural area where there's a lot of farms. It's just all those people that feel like things are getting too extreme on the policy side. They're finding these other communities.
And if I was to give you the political spectrum, just look at Snohomish County, cut it in half. The further south you are below the half line, the more liberal it's going to be. And above the half line, the more conservative it's going to be. So you would look at like Arlington, Stanwood, Marysville is slightly more conservative. You would look at, Mount Lake Terrace, Bothell, Edmonds is, slightly more liberal. But way more moderate than downtown Seattle, just even as a whole.
What is some of the prices in Snohomish County that people can look forward to?
Your average price in Snohomish County starts at $864 for the whole county. with the southern part of the county being in that kind of 850 to 11 range, and then the northern part of the county being in that 750 to 650 range. So think of Seattle as like the center of our real estate universe, with Bellevue being the second center of the real estate universe. Then every 10 minutes on the freeway, turns into another $100,000 as you start to drive further down I-5.
What do you get with the 750 like in Arlington or Lake Stevens compared to what you get 900 in Seattle? Is it comparable properties or they're different?
They're vastly different. Okay, 750 example. Offer written last night on a short sale. Yes, there are some short sales that are back right now. Located, and this is in rural Arlington for one of our workers' family members. 2,400 square foot home, 5 acres, and a 2,600 square foot shop. Beautiful property. In city, like Marysville, 750 is going to get you a nice 2,600 to 2,800 square foot home on a lot that's going to be around 5,000 to 6,000 square feet, where you're going to have a backyard. Now, of course, if you went for an older home, you could get a bigger backyard, a little bit smaller house. If you go really rural, like Gold Bar or something like that, you get a brand new home for $550 out there, but you are an hour and 20 minutes from downtown Seattle. Now, in King County, though, if we go out to that kind of southeast King County, also going to be very affordable, similar numbers out there in southeast King County. Edmonds, is going to be starting at like 1.1. Bothel's going to start at like 900. The further north you go. Also, the second you get outside of downtown, the scenery opens up because the buildings aren't as tall. And so I think we have beautiful scenery everywhere. Don't misunderstand me. The Puget Sound is just gorgeous. But as you get further out of downtown, I believe the scenery becomes more beautiful. You have better views of the mountains, better views of the salt water. Unless you're just really going to overpay. I also think people are going to go to Pierce County. Pierce County is the county south of King County. That one's going to be even more affordable than Snohomish County. There's people who are going to move to Vancouver, Washington. And as they move to Vancouver, Washington, realize they're playing a tax hack game. You can live in Vancouver, Washington, and have no income tax, and you can drive right into Oregon and do all your shopping in Oregon and not pay sales tax, because we don't have an income tax here in Washington State yet. Now realize we made another video about how the revenue queen is trying to get a 9.9% income tax passed.
Revenue queen as in the new mayor?
No, the revenue queen as in, I forget the name of this woman politician. She is very left, very progressive, who is a champion for tax initiatives to tax more people.
Like a state senator or something?
She's been a senator and one of the representatives. Also, you're going to see people move to Eastern Washington, to Wenatchee, the Tri-Cities, the Spokane area. Regardless of where we're at in the Seattle metro, or Washington State, we are licensed here in Washington State. Anywhere in Washington State, if you're moving to or from here, we can help you with this. You can reach us at resg.com. We'll also pin our contact information right there into the show notes.
I have one more question for you. Now, obviously, a little bit of doom and gloom, because it actually is like that, especially right now because it's so dark and cloudy and rainy and cold. But what's your thoughts on how long this is going to last? Is this going to be like a short-term thing? Is it going to go for 5 years, 10 years? When do you foresee Seattle turning around? What would it be? And, when does it make sense to leave Seattle, in your opinion, from like a real estate perspective?
It's a really good question. If your intention is to leave Seattle in the next year, I would do it sooner versus later, because I don't have much faith in the new mayor. She has no track record of running anything as large as one of the biggest, most successful metros. I love Seattle. I don't like what it's turned into. I think Seattle's beautiful. I like going there. I don't want to live there. And so that's number one. Number two, I think going back to the question of how long, generally speaking, when you're looking at large socioeconomic political issues, they have to go through their cycles. This cycle is still trending towards more liberal, more taxation, more government regulation. It has shown no signs of slowing down. It's actually shown signs of speeding up, because in Washington state as a whole and in Seattle, they're both doing the same thing. When they have a quote unquote budget shortfall, they don't say I have a spending problem and try to make government more efficient. What they do is they say, oh, we have a revenue problem, we're going to tax more. And so the economic prosperity we are enjoying today is because of things we did in the past. That's showing up today, and now we're strangleholding it. So it's going to take, Benji, somewhere between 4 to 12 years for this cycle to turn around. And my bet is it's more in that 8 to 12 range because it hasn't bottomed. So politics as a whole, or the way the economics going, it swings like a pendulum. The pendulum is still going more progressive, more liberal, more taxation, more regulation. That pendulum has to get to a point where the populace says enough is enough, and then it slides back. But based on that, they just voted for a more liberal mayor, a self-proclaimed socialist. Bro, that's not happening soon. That's got to get worse. And so this doom loop's going to continue a long period of time. And what you don't want to be is you don't want to be like in the 1970s, the last person out of Seattle turned the lights off. You want to, if this is your intention, you want to get out while property values are good. Because my actual fear isn't home price crashes. My fear is that the commercial real estate market that is basically currently being massively underserved starts imploding, and that leads to city blight, which then turns into the residential problem. Because
and no matter how cheap it gets, you don't want to be down there.
You don't want to be down there, because if businesses can't function there, you have no community. So that commercial problem is bigger than the residential problem. And if that doesn't fix itself in 24 months, then absolutely residential prices will go down in Seattle, because it'll just literally tip over a cliff. Right now, and there's all kinds of stuff all over the internet about this, commercial real estate is in an extend and pretend phase, which is going to drive people, Snohomish County, Pierce County, the East Side, Bellevue, Redmond. Those are your immediate, like, get out. It's just that next rung right out of Seattle. We can help you in any of those areas if this is something that you decide to do, but know that Seattle is not headed in the right direction right now.
Nothing. I think you said it. People need to really consider if Seattle is going in the right direction. It doesn't sound like it to us. We're outsiders looking in, though.
Yeah, of course.
But what I can say is where we live in the Snohomish County area, I actually see it getting better, because and it has nothing to do with Seattle. Maybe it has more to do with the type of people that live here and the policies we care about and the leadership. Good for them, because it's only growing. I'd say the only downside is, and this is why maybe this is the motivation to get up here sooner, or any of these outlying counties, is because it's going to get even more expensive. Bingo. Because more demand. And if that's the case, you're trying to buy a house for sure, get in right now, because supply is not changing, unfortunately.
Well, when you look at Seattle, like, as a whole, they're touting this idea about, oh, we have this stuff for affordable housing. Affordable housing means nothing. It means they're going to build some subsidized apartments, but that's not what people want. If they simply move to Snohomish County, for example, you can get into a home, get into a lifestyle, get into being part of a stable community, because Seattle is at this inflection point.
By the way, I think that you should have probably talked about the affordable homes in the area. Right down the street, a house sold for $550,000. A family could live there.
Yeah.
Well, so you can get a home for $500,000, which is crazy to say, but you can get a legit home on a nice street in a nice neighborhood in a great city for $550,000. I mean, that's probably not common, but it's out there more and more right now.
It's out there more and more because, we did that other episode where we talked about it. Prices are flat in our area, adjusted for inflation. They're only up like 2.5%. Right now, as rates trend down, it's going to appreciate more in 2026 than it did in 2025. Now, I'm not calling for anything major, but it's going to appreciate more. There's going to be more competition. You can already see it happening in the refinance applications and then the growing demand. Overall, though, just kind of recapping this for people, Seattle's at an inflection point. It might recover, but it's probably going to take a decade. And this disruption is creating opportunity for the people who are leaving Seattle and then headed somewhere else. Our recommendation, Snohomish County, it's very affordable. And this is when real estate wealth is made. It's by following migration patterns. It's by following the trends of what's happening. And like you were saying, there are some good deals that are happening right now. We've been joking and calling it deal season. And the good deals are made before everyone else gets there. And so, I would just take advantage of that. So if you do think about selling in the Seattle metro, hey, we're here to help. Our team is in the top 1% in Washington state and nationally. And we've helped tons of people relocate. We can help you with that too. You can get all of our contact information there in the pinned comment, and you can reach us at rsg.com.